This video is going to be covering a recent ride that we took in November of 2023. If you click over to my landing page and scroll down to the bottom, we have a button or a link called Rides, and you can join. If you are in the New York area, you are certainly welcome to join. We have a Facebook page for rides, and even if you're not logged in, even if you don't even have a Facebook account, you can see upcoming events here and past events. So we haven't posted anything for December yet, but we will. And if you're interested, you get all the information here. You don't even need to sign up to Facebook. And when you get into the ride section, we provide you with all the information. You can even get in touch with me if you need to. Of course, you can do that via the YouTube page as well. And I give you a fairly detailed map. I like to open this up in full size, and it shows you the route. I'm even providing pictures of some of the highlights that we are going to have. And here you can see all the data, the elevation, the length of it. So this is basically what we did last Sunday. We started here, and this is the Poughkeepsie train station. We followed this trail, which is based on, this whole bridge and everything is based on a rail track that was built here in the early 20th century. And it lasted for a few decades, then they changed it over to what is now a greenway. We went down to my favorite spot, the Huguenot Village, and we rode around a little bit. And then we went down to the farms. We sampled a cider from the local apple orchard, and then we loaded up on some local pies here, and then we rode back and rode around in downtown Poughkeepsie a little bit. So the full distance was about maybe a little bit less, maybe 26 or 27 miles, something like that. Not very difficult. As you can see, maybe a 200 foot elevation in total, maybe 250, something like that. And so I'm going to show you the videos that I took and add some of my own thoughts. This is the first take I took on the bridge. It was kind of warm but very windy, so it actually felt cold. Luckily, one of the three of us was a professional photographer, and if you go to our Facebook page, you can see some of the pictures he took, which are hopefully better than my video. Once you cross the bridge, you see some of the old trains on exhibit. By the way, my previous video on the Brompton brand was quite successful. I would recommend that you watch it if you haven't seen it. A lot of people commented as well. We have dozens of comments. But in any case, this video is going to be mostly about just riding. You can see a little bit of my Brompton Interceptor. I have a titanium handlebar. I have an aftermarket bell. It's toolless, very easy to install or uninstall. You see the computer, which is from Grin. This is my electric kit, is not the standard Brompton electric. This is a Grin kit that has been altered and overclocked and modified in various ways. You can see a little knob on the left underside of the computer. Not in this segment, but eventually you're going to see it. That's a direct control of the wattage or power or whatever you set on the computer, so you can adjust the power on the fly. And you'll see me using that, especially when I'm taking uphills. I also installed a new mirror. I did a short on it. You can see me adjusting the wattage at this point because we are beginning to move uphill a little bit. So that cable looking thing on the lower left is really that new mirror that I got. I'm very happy with the size of it, but it's just too far down. So I think I'm going to experiment with this and twist it around. You can mold and twist that flexible bar that the mirror is attached to in any way you want to. So maybe I can figure out a way that the mirror would not be so far. My bar ends are the top of the line Ergon bar ends. These I think are maybe even older than the bike. I used to have them on my kick scooter and I moved them over onto the bike. It's really helpful to be able to grip on the top because that takes away the back pain that would result if you were crouching over constantly for hours and hours. And here you see some other bikers. These guys were on electric and they were just so incredibly powerful that I think they were doing something like 25 miles an hour. This is an area that involved cutting the railway through a lot of stony areas, and there are some roads running over the what is now a bike path or a trail. Very beautiful day, early November, dry. A lot of the foliage has already fallen down, unfortunately, but it's still a very colorful landscape, especially later on around sunset. It became really, really beautiful and just a very charming route overall. I originally bought my Brompton in 2017 and everything was planned out carefully, so I bought the kind of bike I could electrify the way I wanted it to be electrified, and I bought the electric kit together with the bike, obviously from a separate source. And since then, I have replaced some of the components. I managed to burn down one controller experimenting. I also flooded another one, but now I have something that's never going to burn down because it has roughly twice the capacity of the motor and it's absolutely waterproof. So I'm very happy with it. I complained in my Brompton video, the previous one, about the problems with the brand and what they are doing wrong, and I certainly stand by those statements. But the nice thing about especially the classical pre-titanium Brompton frames is that you can do so much to modify them. And that is, of course, a part of the fun of owning a Brompton. You buy a Brompton partly because of the foldability and partly because of how much you can remanufacture and refabricate it. And I've certainly done a lot with my bike, but I'm not even near to being finished. The one professional photographer in the group in the yellow top rides a fairly stock Brompton electric. It's not as fast or as powerful as my own, but it can easily follow on a scenic ride like this. We were not going that fast, except maybe toward the end, because we were worried about the bridge being closed. The bridge across the Hudson is not open at night, and they typically close down by the late afternoon, something like 5 o'clock in this case, and then by next week it's going to get down to 4:30 p.m. So you have to be careful if you need to take the train back to the city, you don't want to get stuck on the west side of the Hudson. If you do get stuck, you still have options. You don't necessarily have to call a car. There is a car bridge that has a bike lane on it. It's not nearly as nice as this pedestrian bridge that we took, but you can get back to the train station if you absolutely have to. The third person, rides one of the older, partly steel, partly titanium frames. The tube itself is steel, but the extremities are titanium, and it has a lot of modifications. Not as much as the Brompton family time, but probably over $1,000, and it resulted in a bike that weighs 22 and a half pounds. I do not have a cell phone attachment, so the way I keep the cell phone is I just stick it into the pouch I have hanging on the handlebar. You can see the partially titanium bike a little bit on the left side. It's a beautiful bike, partly because the gray titanium color of the extremities contrasts really nicely against the also gray but very shiny lacquered look of the tube of the rest of the bike. It's a really nice bike. In my case, I don't think my bike is so beautiful, although I have a nickel plated tube. But I'm kind of trying to balance things between beauty and functionality. Not everybody likes the big fat ultra wide seat that I have, but it's certainly the most comfortable saddle that you can reasonably attach to a suspension seat post, which is the one I am using. So I hardly ever stand up. I just sit and let the electricity do most of the work, or half the work at least. I'm guessing if you have a more uncomfortable seat, that would force you to stand up a whole lot more, and it might be better for fitness, but it's definitely not a comfortable way to ride. This is still the trail on the way to New Paltz, maybe halfway between Poughkeepsie and New Paltz. And on the left, there's a sports facility. I think it's mostly baseball. It might be something else as well. Not many people were out. I must say, for a beautiful sunny Sunday with temperatures in the mid 50s, I was disappointed at the fitness level of suburban people. I think overall city people are more fit. We walk more. We don't use the car for everything. In fact, some of us do not have a car. I'm not currently driving. Whereas in the suburbs, it's all about the car. So a lot of people don't even have heavy winter clothing. They just have a sweater or a light jacket, and they jump in and out of the car. It's either at the office or at home, or they are in their vehicles. Of the chef. Here we are approaching the point of departure from the trail. We could continue on the trail to New Paltz at this point, or a little bit further down the road. The trail just runs alongside the highway, so it gets a lot noisier and not so attractive. But we got off at this point because we wanted to stop by at a farm. This is one of my favorite farms in the area. It's a tiny family farm, but they have a lot. And so you can load up if you just want to have snacks. But it's not an apple farm. They have a lot of different things. Getting off of the trail before we get to the back road where the farm is located, there is a short segment that is unnerving slightly because you have to merge onto the main road. It's actually legal to ride on the shoulders, but it is unnerving because the cars are so much faster.
I don't think this is New Paltz. This must be something else. And there's a farm further up.
And here we are at the Laughing Fork Farm. And the three bikes, the one on the left is the standard Brompton electric. This is my Interceptor with the crazy big mirror. And here is the very attractive half titanium bike with the shiny lacquer. The wheels are custom, the drivetrain is custom. A lot of that bike has been remanufactured. This is just some farm decoration that we found. A very different small wheel bike. Leaving the farm, it didn't take long to get onto the last segment on the way to Huguenot Village. This road, believe it or not, is called the Empire State Trail. I have not found a road name or an avenue name. It's not really a trail because cars can go on it, but there are some really nice downhills on the way down to Huguenot Village. And we finally arrived at the village and we rode around taking some pictures. I've been to this place so many times it now feels like kind of a second home. But it's just such a tranquil and beautiful place. So we stopped our bikes here and took some pictures. On the way out of Huguenot Street, there is this little cemetery, which is really cute. And then the rest of it is riding alongside the river, which is very, very charming. And then you get into downtown New Paltz, and that's where the trail continues. And at this point, this is an off-road trail. Not very difficult to navigate. I would say I have racing tires on the front and had no problems. But we got off the trail once we got close to the apple orchard. And if you continue, I think it goes down to at least Beacon, and some segments might even continue. But the lower part of the trail is really rough. I would not recommend it. The views from this trail, once you approach the apple orchard on the right, are absolutely spectacular. And I tried to get a glimpse of it in the early part of the sunset with all the colors out. Unfortunately, there's all that shrubbery in the way, but this is just absolutely beautiful scenery. And that's true of the summer period as well. And I'm really looking forward to seeing this place in winter with everything covered in snow. At this point, we are at the apple orchard, which belongs to Dressel Farms. That's the farm that sells the cider and has some excellent views. There's no way to enter the farm from the back, so they are expecting you to ride around and get on the main road, which is the 208, and proceed via the main entrance. This is the farm and our bikes lined up. That's the Interceptor in the center and the Titanium in the front with the beautiful wheels, beautiful carbon fiber fenders or mud guards, and this is the view. They have all kinds of different alcoholic ciders. Unfortunately, all of them were served ice cold instead of warm. After this stop, at the second farm, we got on the main road, which is not that bad. There is some traffic on it, but it's not too bad, and the cars are for the most part very polite. We stopped by a third farm to pick up a local pie on the way back, and here we are back on the trail. This is the part of the trail that runs next to the highway, so it's a lot noisier than the back road we took on the way west, but it has the advantage of being very smooth, very high quality trail, and not many bikes on it, so you can speed all you want. Once we got very close to the bridge and we were just maybe 3 or 4 miles away, we had beautiful clear skies and the sun setting, coloring everything in this reddish golden color. It was just so beautiful. Unfortunately, we had to hurry back because they were already in the process of closing down the bridge by the time we got there. So we got there maybe 15-20 minutes before they would have closed it. And here is the end. We get on the bridge and we had the opportunity to take a few pictures before leaving. I'm guessing just waiting for the proper time for the sunset and taking pictures on the bridge would be a good idea, and maybe next time we will do that. This was about 26-27 miles, and we took I think we took maybe 5 hours to do it, but that's because we stopped by the farms and we had some cider and all that, so it wasn't all riding. And this is the end of it. This is it for the current video. I'll be back in a few days. Feel free to follow, subscribe, share, whatever.